prophesizing, there's one word. There's only one word, and that word is love.
Love is our religion, care is our currency, and peace is our goal.
You know, it's funny with Will and I don't know why I'm sharing this, but since we're a bit intimate today, I'll spill all my secrets as if you haven't already heard them. But when Will and I first got married, I really, really liked him. And I don't know if I knew about love. I just don't know. But through our 21 years together, I have fallen more and more in love with him. And I think that that's a truer way of moving through relationships. I think it's a heresy, a farce, that we should saddle down kids, you know, at the age of 20 to say love forever. I mean, we don't even know what we're talking about there. So the idea of true love is loving all things equally. And when you have a special assignment like a husband or a wife or a friend or a brother or a son or daughter, yeah, you're responsible for loving them. But it's a thing where we uncover through undoing our fears of specialness. So we're actually going to talk about that. We're going to talk today about jumping the fence into love, so we can. The defense is the fences that we put up between us and that impeccable love. So this morning we're going to dip into a little bit of Course in Miracles, which is the first little chapter. And you know, if you don't know about Course in Miracles, it was channeled material by Helen Schuckman and Bill Thetford. They came together and channeled this material. And so in the beginning, when she first started channeling this material, it was kind of awkward. And when you begin to read it, many people close the book because it's hard to understand. Because she was learning to ride the bike. You know, she was learning to open up that channel. We are all channels. Each of us is a channel of God's love. And so when we begin to accept that, sometimes it can be scary and awkward, and we can vacillate between, you know, victim, everything's against me, warrior, I'm going to make this happen, and channel, thy will be done. So that was just the crash course in miracles right there. So the beginning section is called Revelation, Time, and Miracles. The first thing I wanted to just share with you is the idea that right now, this is the perfect day. And with each of you, there dwells a light that cannot fail. And that is a quote from the Gospel of Truth. And I remember when I first read this quote, this is the perfect day, and within you dwells a light that cannot fail. I felt like there were puzzle pieces of my being that suddenly clicked together, and I went, oh, that's the truth. Like, that's the truth and the whole truth. How come I didn't know that? How come my mom didn't whisper that to me on my way out the door every day? This is the perfect day. Within you dwells a light that cannot fail. Imagine if we did that for each other. Imagine the world we would live in if we all accepted that truth, that this is the perfect day, and within each of us there dwells a light that cannot fail. So the Gospel of Truth is actually a gospel that was not included in the Bible. And it's funny because, you know, we honor all paths here, and sometimes I talk from the Bible, but I am not a biblical scholar at all. But I have studied the books that are not in the Bible. Because I'm a religious rebel, you know what I mean? I want to know about those banned books, you know? I want to see what are they hiding, what's in there. Turns out some pretty good stuff. This is the perfect day, within you dwells a light that cannot fail. So when I had this awareness, it was something that kind of hit me in the bones. And later in life, I remember hearing Oprah Winfrey talking about the aha moment. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like, a moment of revelation, of awareness that goes beyond the understanding. And yet somehow we know that it is the truth, that there is no shadow of a doubt within our being. And once we have that realization or revelation, there's no unknowing it. And the Gospel of Truth feels true for us. That statement feels true, that this isn't the perfect day, that within us there is a light that cannot fail. And it's not a little light, it's a whole and holy fire that burns within all of us. In the Bible, in Matthew 3:11, it says, I baptize you with water for repentance, but he who comes after me is mightier than I, whose sandals I'm not even worthy to carry. He'll baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. And in this quote, the fire is talking about passion. It's talking about your faith. And you don't have to call that faith, you don't have to put that faith under any umbrella of Judaism or Catholicism, whatever. It's just a fire that burns within you. It doesn't even need a religion. Of Course in Miracles says we don't need another religion. You know, we certainly do not need another religion. At this point, religions have done that, you know. Maybe started. But what I will say is that it says what we could use is a universal experience, and that experience is love, and that's the word that we started to talk about in the beginning. So in this quote, that fire is that passion, and that passion rests on the idea of your belief system. You know, what are you firing up your belief system with? Your belief system is either love or fear, and then the fire gets on underneath it. You could fire yourself up in fear, you could fire yourself up in love. Jesus, who's a master teacher, says it's done unto you as you believe. So you get to choose. To ignore this is to say, I don't want to take personal responsibility for my life. You know? And you know what? You can do that. And this is what it would look like. It will look like your whole family takes a trip to Hawaii, and you decide to sleep during the whole trip. Now, it doesn't mean that you didn't go to Hawaii, but it just means that you decided to go to sleep the whole time, right? Now, I'm going to tell you something. If you get a chance to go to Hawaii, you should probably stay awake a little bit of it, right? And that's the thing that's happening here, is that you get the opportunity to go to a place of grace, and we're saying, I'm going to sleep this one out. So the law says it's done unto you as you believe. And if you want to, you can allow yourself to be undone in love. So you can let love undo you, so that all that's left is love. And that's a possibility. But we have to look at our defenses. We have to look at the places that were blocked. We all equally have access to this light, which cannot fail. And we have to let it undo us. We want to understand what it is that we're letting undo us, so we can get intimate with it, so we don't fear it. So what it is, it's an intelligence that lives within you. It goes wherever you go. It's basically as close to you as your breath. It delights in you. It's the light within you that cannot fail. It whispers encouragements. It whispers directions and inspirations for your impeccable success. And I don't mean that your individual personal success. I mean your success to play the optimal plan in God's plan for peace. So you want to play that part. You really do want to play that part. A lot of times we'll say, I think I got a better plan for me than God. I don't really trust God. So I'm going to get my little plan. And you know what that looks like? It looks like gathering breadcrumbs. Like God's like, why are you pasting together your life with duct tape and spit? Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to work so hard. Like, I already wrote the script. And guess what? You're the leading light in that script. Why? Because I need you to light up that corner of your life. And if you don't show up and you're out back, if you're backstage trying to, cobble things together, you're not present in my plan. So the optimal idea is to get present in the plan. So having awareness of this fearless flame that fires up our faith for the goodness of all things, it's good to get intimate with that. It's this power that not only holds a helpful roadmap that you can step into your optimal potential, but it also has the ability to steer you away from all the things that no longer serve you. So as you begin to step into it, and many of us have started already or on the road, and we've been dabbling in lots of philosophies of non-duality where we're saying, yeah, this is really for me and nothing is against me. We notice that our phone book changes. We notice that people-pleasing evaporates. We notice that, things that used to drain and distract us they just slip away. We become more aware of signs and synchronicities, of how the world is actually bending itself towards us to support us. Of Course in Miracles in 189, lesson 189 says, this is what it looks like. And if you haven't dabbled in Course in Miracles, it's just so beautiful, but this is just an example of what it says. It says it welcomes you, it rejoices that you came, it sings your praises as it keeps you safe from every form of danger and of pain. It offers you a warm and gentle home in which to stay a while. It blesses you throughout the day, watches through the night as a silent guardian of your holy sleep. It sees salvation in you and protects the light in you, in which it sees as its own. So it's like God is looking at you like you're its own because you are. That's a beautiful awareness to have. But God's nothing to fear. God is looking at me like I am God's own. It offers you its snow and its flowers in thankfulness for your benevolence. And you say, gosh, God has all of this for me? Everything is for me? Nothing is against me? Yeah, how dearly you are loved. It's horrible to think that we might have fallen asleep to that. We're living in Hawaii spiritually. So when you accept this is what the Course says about when we begin to accept this. It says the world reflects the quietness and peace that shines through you when you accept this. It's not saying you won't have bumps and humps and rough patches. You know, when we think about some examples of Mahatma Gandhi or, you know, Mary, Blessed Mother, like, you know, they had some rough patches. The woman gave birth in a manger and then, you know, raised a child to watch him be crucified. And, you know, I mean, that could not have been a pleasant plan. But her legacy is what? Queen of Peace, full of grace. So that means that we too can move the rough and worried world, but not take it on. We too can be filled with that kind of grace. And have our legacy speak for us as we go our way in happy destiny, a snail trail to the sun of brilliance. You're capable of that. I'm capable of that. So when you see this innocence and this gentleness surrounding you, you can be sure that you are on course. And it says that when you see that, you can be sure that that's a sure reflection of God's love. I think that's beautiful. We think it's too much to ask to experience namaste. You know, God meeting God. This light within me honors this light within you. We think that's just some fruity-tooty, you know, woo-woo, you know, yoga, babbling, brook, or whatever. Actually, and of course, we poo-poo what we know to be true, because we really don't want to accept the responsibility for being that well lit. You know, so it's no wonder that the good stuff might have been cut from the Bible. That's all I'll say about that. So this is yours. When you have that state of grace, remember that commercial that just said, this is your mind on drugs? This is your mind on God. That's what it feels like, to be in eternal grace and peace, no matter what happens. Like it's beyond any drug you ever took ever, with no hangover. I'm not suggesting you did drugs. So that, living like that, that's living in the revelation. That's between you and your God. That has nothing to do with me. You could have those spiritual orgasms all day and all night, and if you come to me and try and describe that to me, I'm going to look at you like you got 10 heads, because it's not describable in words. Like, we will never get there in words with each other. It's like trying to teach somebody to swim by showing them a postcard of the ocean. It's not helpful. It's not even helpful. So let that be between you and your God. Let that revelation last between you and your God, and trust that your brother will have his own aha moments that help him jump the fence. But these aha moments are for you and you alone. But what we can share here is the miracle. So in this section, again, the title is Revelation, you and your God, Time, and the Miracle. And it says miracles can fold up time. So we're in this space. When we're in the space of the revelation, time falls away, and we see that time is really an illusion, a big concept. That's kind of a big concept. But if you've ever created anything and you looked up and you found 10 hours slip by, you know what that feels like to have be in the state of timelessness. If you've ever been so in love with someone that you just no longer look at your watch and you're just in the state of bliss, you know what it feels like to be without time. And I'll say that time actually, as much as it is an illusion, we sure do use it to crucify each other when somebody shows up late. You know what I mean? Like, you don't care about me. So what I suggest to you is, if you were to show up late for anything, or somebody shows up late for you, like a better way of navigating that wouldn't be to say, I'm so sorry, you know, this happened, that happened, just say thank you for holding space for me. It's so much nicer. It's a way that we can stop using time as a way to crucify us. This morning I got into my car. My husband went ahead of me so we could set up some things here. And I got into my car was dead. And somebody left the light on. I don't know who. Don't judge. But anyway, my car was dead. But thank God my daughter was sleeping, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be late. But like, I remembered my own plan. Like, I no longer crucify myself by the clock. You know, I'm always where I need to be at all times. This is the truth for you as well. That's why when we talk about time, it's in the very first chapter of the book, because we really have used it. Oh my God, there's not enough time. It is what scarcity is based on, and scarcity is all separation. So we could have the state of grace, or we could have this state of hell. That's the choice. You know, and when you recognize all of this time we've just been choosing incorrectly, we're like, oh, wow, I could choose again. You know, it's like that other commercial, I could have had a V8. I could have had a miracle. I could have been an extension miracle. So miracles if we're going to use time, miracles are the optimal use of time. Miracles are a sign of love between equals. This is really important because many times we create special altars where you say, oh, Maureen knows more than I, or Buddha knows more than I, or Jesus knows more than I. But we are all equals. That's why we sit knee to knee and eye to eye. And that's why for you new folks, we have a conversation where everybody adds their voice because there's wisdom between us. So in the Course of Miracles, Jesus tells us, I'm your equal, man. Don't put me up on a pedestal. I'm worthy of devotion. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of respect. Because I am devoted, I love, and I respect you. So we have this equal relationship. And he says in the book, there's nothing about me that you cannot attain. So I'm just helping you out here. I'm not special. And he says, awe is not for me. Don't bring me awe. Give it to the source. Give it to the main source. And in that way you should be in awe. But for me, I'm just your brother. You know what I mean? If you don't see me in an audacious way, you have a more likely ability to not see anyone else in a more or less audacious way than yourself. And this is what we call the equal laws of love. This is interesting that Jesus tells us this, that there's nothing about me that you can't attain. And it's good because we see him also walk in those worlds, where people were out to get him and they ended up killing him. What he ends up saying in the end was just like, forgive them, like they don't know what they're doing, like don't, this is just an illusion. Don't take it too personally. So true too, the world will hang us up and string us out, but you don't have to surrender your peace of mind. You don't. So he's a symbol of that possibility. In the Course, it says, when it says in the Bible, no man cometh unto the Father but by me, does not mean in any way that I am separate from you, except in time, and time doesn't exist. So he kind of spells it out for us. He says, you stand below me, I stand below God, because there's a distance between you and God, and it would be too great for you to encompass that. Now this is interesting. This is where we've really fucked things up. And I'm using that word because it's important that you pay attention. This is where we really have gotten it wrong, where we somehow have said, only through Jesus can we find a way home. That's not true, and he's not saying that. He's saying, I'm simply a bridge. He literally uses that word. I'm a bridge for you to walk across, and it's super helpful if you take this bridge, because I know the way. I've been there and back again. He says, I have one hand on God and one hand on my brother. I remember the first time I gave a talk, the theme that they gave me to speak on was Wave of the Future. And in that talk, I was talking to young entrepreneurs, and I said to them, like, look, if you want to really ride the wave of the future, have one hand on a mentor in front of you and one hand behind you on a mentee, and you're going to be in balance because you're going to be in the flow of wisdom, extending and giving and extending and giving. This is the same thing that Jesus is talking about, and he's saying to us, like, if you do that, you help me be helpful, right? You know how good it feels to be helpful? So he has a clear idea that he is one with the Father, that he's one with his source, and he's devoted to the awakening of the revelation for all of us. It's helpful to have a brother walk you home because, like Dorothy going to the Wizard of Oz, it can be scary. I think about it like when I was a kid going to my dad, and whenever my sisters had to tell my dad something that he didn't want to hear. Like, Dad, I'm pregnant, or Dad, I got all the drugs in school. Like, there was a litany of things that my dad did not want to hear that he had to hear. And there were 6 girls in our family, and they were curious cats. And anytime something like that came up, we'd all gather in the back bedroom and be like, who's going to go tell Dad with you, And then they walk together. It's so helpful to have somebody go with you. And, come to find out the same exact way, we fear that God is going to reprimand us for something that we didn't do. That's fine. My father would always say, we can deal with it. But we had a fear. And so having somebody walk with you just helped make the path to walking there easier. But every time we got there, there was no reason to fear my dad. There was no reason to fear God. That's a heresy, man. My dad loved us, and our God loves us. This we got to wake up to. We can walk our way home together, but once we get there, it's nothing but love. We've heard people who've had near-death experience, and they came back. Not a one of them was like, oh, we're fucked. Not a one. They've written like bestseller books after bestseller books. Like, this is indescribable. They can't even describe to us the revelations that they're having over there because we wouldn't understand it, and still they attempt to. They try because they want to get us to the realization that God is good, and we still don't trust God. You know, so Jesus is like, look, let me just help you out, you know? Let me just help you out with that. So if we're willing to watch our brother's impeccable trust, and it gives us hope. It just gives us hope that it's possible for us as well. And he's saying not only is it possible, but listen, bigger things will you do. So it reminds me of crawling my ass into a 12-step meeting. You know, when I first got there, I was like, there's no way I'm getting sober, and if I do get sober, there's no way I'm going to be happy about it. And I come into the goddamn meeting, and there's not only people that are sober there, but damn it to hell if they're not fucking happy as well. And I'm like, what the hell? Are you guys crazy? Like, this can't be good. You must have lost your minds. But as I sat there, I got to see them as an example of a path that was going to lead me home to my holy state of mind, my peace of mind. If they weren't there, I probably wouldn't have shown back up. If they didn't walk me home, if they didn't have true, impeccable faith, like, I could see that it wasn't just their words of saying, like, you know, I surrender my life to God's will, which you do, in course, in 12-step. I could tell that they actually did it. Like, they weren't giving it word service. You know why they did it? They had no place else to go. They were dead men walking. And when you get to be a dead man walking, and you find yourself walking to God, that's a good way to go. That's a worthy walk. So this is what I saw in 12-step, right? So it's just an example. Jesus is the same way. I had the same example when I saw somebody give birth. My third time giving birth, I went to the midwife. I see this woman, she's giving birth like a Buddha. She's like in peace. I'm like, you know, I told you the story. I'm like, what are you doing? And the midwife's like, she's giving birth. She's 7 meters dilated. I was like, no, she's not. Like, nobody gives birth like that. She must be on drugs. She must be like out of her mind. And she's like, no, that's a way to go. I just never saw that. If you don't see the possibility of somebody walking before you on the path of a lighthouse, you're probably not going to wake up to it, right? So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for lighthouses on our path that give us a reason to continue to walk forward. All of us can also be lighthouses for somebody else. So yeah, then after that, I decided to give birth without indulging in pain. And you know what? It is possible. We did this whole lesson this morning on A Course in Miracles. If you're not on the call, you should get on. And it talked about pain and how that's actually a choice. So that's a big, another big talk for another different time. So before I close, I wanted to end with this one little story. I had this experience when I was in 12-step in my early years where I was at the meetings and I wasn't letting go of my crucifixions. I was like, I want peace, but I also want to kill my former husband. Can that be possible? You know, and I kept telling the story about what a dog he was. And I just loved that story. I knew every word, you know, I knew all the dips, I knew all the funny phrases. I was like, I'm going to tell the story one more time. People love it, you know. So one day this one looked at me, she was like, when are you going to stop telling that victim story? And I was like, what? And right around that time, I was driving from one of the meetings, and I was driving down this, I think it was Moore Park, and I don't remember if there was traffic or what, but I got to see this story unfold on the side of the road that was for me. It was specifically for me. And what happened was there was these 3 gorgeous, and think about 3 kings. This was the gift they were giving me that day. 3 kings. They were these African-American men. They had a basketball. They were beautiful. They were striking. They caught my attention, and they had a little boy with them who came up to about their waist. And the kid was in fear, like you've never seen before, like crying and just in fear. And there was a fence, this, wired fence. And on the other side of the fence was the basketball court. And they had to get over the fence to go play basketball. And they were trying to get the kid to climb, and he was like, no, no, and he was afraid of going up that high. He was afraid of falling. So I watched them devise this plan. And what they did was the first guy climbed the fence and he got to the other side. And then the second guy climbed all the way up to the top of the fence and he laid his body over the top of it. And the third man picked the child up and handed him to the second guy. And the second guy pulled him over his back and he handed him to the third guy. And the kid kicked and screamed the entire time. And you know what the men did? They laughed. They were laughing. They were laughing the whole time. Because they're like, we know you're afraid, but we're not going to drop you. Like, we got you, And I recognized, and that story that that kid was me. I was like, I want to hold on to my defenses. I don't trust God. Like, I want to make sure that, you know, the score is made even. You know, I want my crucifixion and my resurrection at the same time. And if I want that, I'm not going to have to stay on the wrong side of the fence. And all along, there was a tribe of worthy spiritual beings that were physically and spiritually helping me over the fence. You know, all of these people showing up to the 12-step meeting, you know, they literally laying down their truth so that I could climb over it. They were like a bridge. That's exactly what Jesus is doing for us. It's not special, okay? It happens all the time, sometimes big, sometimes small. But we want to make sure today that we could try and move ourselves from being that crazy, fear-ridden child who's kicking and screaming. We don't have to go that way. It's not worthy of us. You guys, you know, for those who have been given much is expected, and you don't get here by mistake. So you have what it takes to be the guy who's helping people over the fence. And when you help somebody over the fence, you strengthen that idea for yourself. So you never have to drain energy again in being in fear. You could always be in love. And like those men, you could spend your time laughing in joy. And that's the truth. And that's the word.
So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, or you can go ahead and sign up for our newsletter at speakeasyspiritualcommunity.com so we can keep the conversation going. Because Speakeasy is all about engaging in engaging conversations. I'm Maureen Muldoon, your spiritual vixen, reminding you to love more and fear less, and don't forget to laugh. What do you say?